Normally, you won't find a story about a child dying young being treated the same as the death of someone old. An early death can be taboo, haunting even. It's like that person wasn't even allowed to live their life before it was taken from them. As a bold choice, Before Your Eyes portrays that reality. The premise of the game is simple. You're in the afterlife, telling your life story to a ferryman through the main character's memories. While at first you play through your memories in a dreamlike way, showing a life of tragedy but fulfillment, it's brought full circle when the reality was that the main character Benjamin had a life cut short by illness and never got to achieve any of his dreams. Yet somehow the game has some whimsical qualities to it even beyond the dread. One moment you're feeling the sting of a mother pushing your dreams onto her son, and the next looking up at the stars with Chloe, your first love. Everything about the game down to its mechanics deal with impermanence. Every scene is gone in a flash with the blink of your eyes or the click of your mouse. The game's main draw being its integration, with your webcam if you choose to have it on. The game is about blinking, and how much of your life passes you by when you're not paying attention. Every time you blink, a couple minutes could pass, or even a couple years. I elected to play about half the game with the camera on and half with it off. The one thing I noticed with the blink controls is how intentionally frustrating the game becomes. You don't want the story to pass you by, but unfortunately you have to blink eventually. No different than how our lives can be if we don't grip onto each individual moment. This is a story that at the very least any viewer can understand, regardless of how different your upbringing was, and the story plays to that. They make sure every dream you saw he wanted to achieve is ultimately not met. He never gets to be a great artist, or a renowned writer, or even a great musical genius, but that doesn't mean he got to be nothing. When someone's reaching the end of their life, well into their old ages, one common phrase you'll hear is they lived a fulfilled life. They may have had a family, been on tons of adventures, met lots of cool people, had enough years in their life to really live. But there's something about the idea that's not entirely true. It doesn't matter how long you've lived your life. The only thing time gives you is more chances to be fulfilled, not the guarantee. Even beyond that, there's something almost toxic about the idea that the only way for life to be fulfilled is after decades of living with tons of experiences that other people can recognize as important. As Ben is dying in his bed from sickness, his mom has a very different perspective than the one shown throughout the game. She goes from a failed dreamer trying to live her life through her child to a compassionate person with a new perspective on life. She reads him a revised story of the sad and depressing one he wrote, that instead ends with, when he knew he was going to go, he was okay, because he'd already lived a great life. A full life, and he was everything he needed to be. A turning point for her character, accepting that being fulfilled isn't about finding some elaborate dream to achieve, but to just live a good life as yourself. A story about acceptance, what it means to lose the way of your dreams. But even more so, it's a story about different perspectives on death. The one part of the ending that really got me was how different the characters reacted to Ben's inevitable death. Chloe gives him one last letter telling him she loved him back, but she didn't cry or break down in front of him. His mom took Ben's writing that she saw as a critique of how she's treated him all these years and revised it with how she should have been. Their cat returns after running away a long time ago to stand by his side, all adding onto the weight of a child passing away. Something special about this game's narrative is what moments in Ben's life you experience. It's roughly a 2 to 3 hour game, yet I feel like every major moment I was there for, getting closer with Chloe, over time becoming better and better at drawing, seeing the family dynamic continue to collapse, as the mom puts all her hopes into her son's success. The ability to condense so much yet just have a taste of someone's life was amazing. A mark of good writing is being able to really portray the narrative you want. This may seem obvious, but many stories can get lost on their world building, fights, and other spectacles. It can be tough to make everything from the game's mechanics to the visual style help portray the narrative without anything too on the nose. On top of all that, the narrative is about a child passing from sickness but trying to find the positive sides to such a scenario. That alone can be a hard hill to go over, but the game finds a way to make you sad without feeling dread. It's important to make sure the intended weight of the viewer's feelings is matched by the story's maturity and sincerity. This game would work far less if it was filled with constant jokes and everything was played off like it wasn't that important. Even in the lighthearted moments, this game shines. Without the main character saying a single word, I know how he felt and his hardships. When it comes to death in the afterlife, it can mean different things for different people, but regardless of how you do feel, this game shows a reality where in those final moments it doesn't need to be all dread. Even though the scenario isn't desired, you can still make something out of it. Just like even if one's life was cut short, it doesn't mean the life they did have was worth nothing. I won't make this video any longer than it needs to be, just like the game gets right to the point and doesn't waste time. Check out my playlist for more videos like this one. I hope to see you next time.